That's my ringtone on my phone, actually.
You know what the band calls this one?
What?
Change machine.
Yeah, I actually have on the new Earl's record. I did the what we used to call the Harley Gabbard rhythm lick because he didn't really push the strings down. Harley Gabbard worked with a band called the Boys from Indiana, but his rhythm lick was different than Josh's or anybody else's. And it was kind of. And Stuart Duncan said it sounds like somebody shaking a drawer full of silverware. But and I actually did that underneath one of Johnny Warren's solos on the new record, and I lifted it off the record, off the tape, and I turned it into a ringtone. Nobody else in the world. I know whose phone is ringing at all times. This goes. It's my phone. You hear that? It's probably my phone.
That's awesome.
Questions? Please. Yeah.
You both have played with a multitude of heroes, celebrities, etc. But who is the greatest honor that you both have played with, or had the opportunity to do so?
Strength in numbers.
Well, Strength in Numbers was wonderful, and it was really. It was my peers, it was my best buddies, and we all made music together for a long time before we actually approached it as a real band, and we wrote this record and we wrote songs with each other, and they all ended up on, somebody did some math and we ended up knowing it would be 10 songs. And so we did that, and that was a lot of fun, but I don't know. I played with a lot of people that I held in high regard, growing up, like James Taylor and Paul Simon. There are two people that I've done a lot of work with now that I really think could run for president, because all of their stuff's out in the open already. You have to go digging for it. Everybody knows it's folklore. But I did an interesting thing the other night at Lincoln Center with a pianist, Chinese pianist, Long Long, who's he's the highest paid classical musician in the world right now. But we played Moon River. It was beautiful. Moon River, and a girl named Regina Spektor sang the song. That's what I'm talking about. And so finding yourself in those kind of situations. We can talk about hero worship and stuff, and there is definitely that going around. I did it a couple years with Elvis Costello. That was wild. And so, I don't know. I was in the room. We were doing a George Jones record, and like that wasn't good enough. Keith Richards came in, and Keith Richards is behind the bar, and George walks in, and Keith says, "Drink, George." And George said, "No, I quit, I don't drink anymore." He had no idea who Keith Richards even was. And so we, later in the day, cut a song and Keith sang it, and no one could understand a word of it. So we had to overdub him again later on. But stuff like he was in a situation last weekend at Telluride that was amazing, and with a new artist who he's not really new, but he's really I thought as one of the greatest young artists out there, pop artists. But you tell them about it.
Well, this guy Ryan Adams. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ryan Adams, but
Fun Twins.
I'd been listening to his music for a long time. I had a roommate who was just loved his music, and so I would hear it a lot around, and I started listening more. I was like, wow, this guy is an incredible songwriter. And one of the cool things about getting to play with artists maybe that you've heard of or or say have an amazing reputation or become famous, a lot of them have this something to them that's hard to even describe until you get in a room with them or play music with them. It's just this incredible creative energy that you can see why they're well known. You can see
why other people follow them.
Yeah, they exude this energy that is creative it's just incredible. And so Ryan was that way. Just even the way he talks is he's making up rhymes and stories, and just all the time you can tell he's almost like stuck in a permanent creative zone.
A little bipolar.
Yeah, and it's, and it makes some of these people eccentric, but it's also, I think, what gives them their creative power in some ways too. But yeah, I mean, that was awesome.
They met him the day before, right?
Yeah,
Actually met the fellow.
We met him the day before the show.
And learned all of his songs that he was going to do on the set and performed them in a semicircle with him at the back. Wow. And Andy's way out on the front. And I'm going, wow! And I'm going, he's playing an old dobro too. There was all microphones. There were no pickups on stage, except for his, probably.
No.
Was he plugged in?
No, it was 3 mics and a bass DI.
But it was all these cool Ryan Adams tunes. A little Ryan Adams story that I get up later than the rest of my house. But I was every morning for about 2 years when one of my sons was going to school. I'd have to get up and drive him to school, but I'd lay there in the bed and I was listening to this record downstairs, who I thought was these Mississippi friends of my wife, Duff Williams. And it was this song, this record would come on every morning, and I kept going, those guys are really good. And then about 2 years later, I found out it was Ryan Adams.
Yeah, he creeps up in there.
He's everywhere. But that's just some ways that we rub shoulders with people sometimes. And I've been on the last 2 Leonard Skinner records too, for anybody that really cares.
That's amazing. Holy cow. I mean, and of course, me playing with Jerry Douglas is also one of the big highlights of my years. So,
I hear him and I just go, man, I love where it's going. I just love where it's going, and it must be, I must be having the feeling that Josh was having, or Mike Aldridge was having. He called me a lot of dirty names, and Josh called me kid all the time. But I met Josh when I was 13 years old, and he said, "I'm going to see you again." And sure enough, we became friends. We became really good friends. But it's not that who's better than who, or it's just, it's time and it's your audience and a whole bunch of factors all wrapped into one thing. But man, I have the ultimate respect for this guy. He's a great player. I love it. I did something with John Fogerty. Yeah, I had him play on a record of mine. I didn't have a track because it was just me and him. So I went to him and he came to me. He said, I said, "I want to do a song. What do you want to do?" And he had this song and he had it pitched high and it didn't sound like him. And it was fast, and I said, no. And I felt like, oh shit, I'm going to tell John Fogerty what to do. But I said, I don't know who you are right now. I want to hear John Fogerty. I want to hear you scream, and I want to hear you play like a maniac. And that's what we ended up doing on this record. It was just it was an old Bob Wills song, but it was unmistakably John Fogerty, and then I played on his record later on. But we have the same birthday. What day is your birthday?
March 19th.
Yeah, we're not related.
No.
Good day though.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that I had the awesome experience of being roommates with John Laskell back in my sophomore year in college. And I thought
still friends?
Still friends. Thought I knew how to play the guitar, and then he was really into, and you were coming onto the scene, and I'm like amazed that as old as I am, that you're still on the scene. And I mean, as old as I am,
Well, I've been kind of coming along there with you.
But the thing that I really appreciated is that then I married my lovely wife, and she was into Emily Harris, whom I'd never heard of, and you kept on, throughout my whole life, you keep showing up. And it's really awesome, it's really great.
When you go around that corner tonight, look out. Thanks.
I'm just really appreciative of your dedication to the art.
The diversity, I mean,
Yeah, just I mean, I'm
all the
Mark
different
Knopfler.
places you guys will fit in.
Yeah, that's all I get. Yeah, thanks.
I think, thank you. I think a lot of it has to do with the instrument that I play, actually. I don't think, you mean, people say, well, how did you find the dobro? And I kind of think that it found me, you know? I think of it in a reverse way. I mean, I was around music from, you know, day one. My father played guitar, had a band, worked in a steel mill, he had a family, couldn't leave, but had a great band. But these guys were all musicians, but all laborers. You know, back when there was a real blue collar. You know, I grew up in a steel mill town, and these guys could play rings around a lot of professional bands at the time, but they couldn't leave. You know, they had jobs and, you know, responsibility, and so I had great, I mean, the guy that played banjo with him was just amazing. He could play any style, he could play just like Earl Scruggs, could play like Eddie Adcock, could play like Don Ringo, could play like all these people. But, and they didn't tell me, just go away, kid, come back when you know how to play that thing, you know, or anything like that.
They welcomed you.
They welcomed me. They let me play with them, let me learn. You know, I kind of got out of earshot a few times when I wasn't sure about what's going on. But I learned from growing up, and it's a great experience. I mean, if you've got kids, immerse them into this stuff as soon as possible, because bluegrass musicians can find their way into places that classical musicians and rock musicians can't. I mean, it goes that direction. It doesn't come the other direction. It doesn't go the other way.
Amen.
The Byrds were all bluegrass musicians, you know, and so it goes on and on. I'm just a product of that.
I know you guys got to play later on and probably want to go bite deep.
I got a technical question for you. As a
Yeah.
ear nerd,
Yeah, complete.
what brands of dobros are you using? And then when you go direct, what boxes? I mean, I bought your Fishman Oral Cider thing.
You like it?
I like it. And then again, there's another one, and then I just want to know what type of strings you use, different things like that to create your sound today.
No, we both use the same stuff.
I think so.
Well, yeah, I do. I just, yeah. We both have these beard dobros that are awesome. E-body, you know, this one. Yeah, and then, I don't know what yours is made out of. What mahogany?
This one's, yeah, it's solid mahogany.
They're mahogany. Yeah, we use the Fishman Jerry Douglas Aura.
Compression?
What's that?
Compression is in that Oral?
There is compression that came from the microphone, but the way I created the images for that aura were to go with different kinds of microphones. It's like you dial around for different microphones to kind of find your tone. I mean, they're different microphones, but you can't think of it that way. You can't think of, well, I want a real expensive sound, so I'm going to go for an M49 Neumann. You go for what your ear wants, because it starts at a U67, which is my favorite microphone in the studio. But the sound that I use most of the time on stage when I'm plugged in is an old 1947 RCA 77.
And that's in that selection too?
It's in this. It's number 3 in that selection. But number 16, the last one in the row, is an SM57. I mean, it's not as good as this. You know, it's like you can pound nails with this microphone.
So do you have a preference? So you're going direct now, but you walk up to a setting. Is that microphone that's ambiently yours, is that to your spec, or is that whatever the house got has?
I don't use a microphone.
Oh, you're going straight direct?
I'm going straight through the aura. All you're hearing is the aura.
Okay. And then the gauge of string and type of string?
Well, I use J42, the Diodario bronze strings. They're created for dobro. It's like 16. You can change the gauges slightly if you want to. I use a 28 for a third, 45, 36, 45, 56.
Is that because you're pulling?
Well, I still use a 16 on the very top end on my first, because I like the singing tone that gives me, rather than, for me, a heavier gauge starts to get thuddier, and I don't hear the singing thing that I really want to do. Do you use a 16 or do you go
It's
heavier?
a 7. I use the GHS shear horn set. I think which is
Cryogenic.
17, 19. Yeah, the cryo strings. They did
Frozen like Walt Disney.
or Timothy Leary. Actually, they couldn't get him in the cryo in time, so they shot him into space. But yeah, these strings are great. They last. They don't like decay. They just kind of keep their tone, and they don't start real bright, but they just anyway. So I like the GHS ones.
Yeah. They both have their place, but they're pretty much dobro standard.
And then what? You got a beard wave.
And I've got this guitar. This guitar is one that he and I built together. We just kept trying different combinations. I've got so many prototypes of these guitars before we settled on wood, and that goes to you can get this guitar in any kind of wood, but I just preferred this one. The slide is a beard wave slide.
Are you playing the front roll there?
Which one do you use?
I'm using the 20 degree, 20 and 10.
One of your tapes early on when you were a young man.
When I was really young, I played with Stephen Steele's. It's all you could get, and because that's what Josh Graves used. But the plating would last me on one of those. The way I was playing so much that I could go through a bar in a month, because the heavy strings were just taking it right off, and I was wearing grooves into the brass, and the plating was so bad. But then a guy named Ron Tipton came along and created this bar that just blew all of those away.
Is that still called a Tipton bar?
It's a Tipton bar. And then Tim Shearhorn made a bar. It was a great bar. It was slightly, I thought I was losing it. I thought I was losing it. It was slightly shorter. It wasn't quite as tall as the Tipton bars. And I really thought I was losing it. My hand was cramping and all kinds of things were happening to me. And then I went back to my Tipton bar and suddenly I could play again. Yeah.
And that's a Tipton bar you use?
So this is really the ones that Paul makes are not copies of, but hybrids of the Tipton.
Paul, so you use a blue chip then?
And I got a blue chip thumb pick and pro picks. I've gone through all kinds of finger picks. There is not a good finger pick made in this world.
What's the gauge you're using?
These are 25s. Let's go.
Yeah, I use the blue chip thumb pick, and these are it says Pro Pick 2. I have a whole box full
That's
of
what
them.
I got.
And whatever, for me it's more like when you first put them on and mash them onto your finger, it either goes good or it goes bad. And if it goes bad, I put those away and try a different one, and yeah, exactly. So I sometimes use the double, sometimes use the single. It's mostly when I first mash it down onto the finger. If it does a good somehow fit, then it's good.
Yeah, the pro picks feel good right away when you put them on.
And the same gauge with the,
I don't know, it just
I
says
think
2.
they are. I think they are. Mine say 2 on them too, but they're
they're the same.
when Dunlop
Yeah.
made picks for a while, and they had different gauges, and they were 25s that I used, and I think this feels like a 25. So it's a pretty heavy. But I
You
still
curl your picks up a lot
They
too.
just break. I break picks. I break.
Jerry, are you going to be able to see your good friend Sam this weekend?
No, I'll be gone before Sam gets here. I saw all of Sam I could stand last weekend. Not true. I love him. He's my daughter's godfather. I mean, me and Sam are bosom buddies. We're best friends.
Is that your bus down
He
there?
lives a mile away from me.
Is that your bus at the bottom of the hill?
No, I didn't bring a bus up this time. I thought about bringing a bus, but then logistics just went, nah, you don't need a bus. That's probably Andy's bus.
That's your bus down the bottom of the hill?
No.
I've been wondering who's been coached out there.
No.
I don't know. We made,
Leanne.
that would be Leanne. It's country music after all. We're gonna play one real